Nothing ignites the world quite like football. But there's one place where it might mean just a little bit more.
Palmer equalises! Cole Palmer! England level from nowhere!
The sport was first organized in England, and it has played a dominant role in their culture since. It is a national pastime that bridges the gaps between generations, classes, and race. Quite simply, it is a cornerstone of English life, and there are very few countries that can claim the football heritage and tradition of this nation. And today, the country's top league, the Premier League, is far and away the most watched football league in the world. And while it is undoubtedly the pinnacle of performance in the English game, the culture of football in England has always been about more than just its top league or top flight. It's about clubs up and down the country from coast to coast, of all different size and from all different means, all connected by a system that protects and rewards them in the true spirit of competition. But today, it doesn't seem quite as open and honest as it once was. While the biggest and shiniest clubs are experiencing prosperity like never before, the reality for a large contingent of English football clubs is not nearly so bright. At first, it happened slowly. Richer and richer owners moved into the sport, pricing out many of the richest would-be owners in the UK. And as the valuations of these clubs ballooned, ownership of football clubs became less about sport and more about power and control. Some clubs chased their own spending records.
The headline really was the amount of spending.
A British record transfer.
Which would be a club record for Arsenal.
A British record transfer fee.
While others push the boundaries of the rules and do whatever they can to fix their position at the top.
Manchester City have been charged by the Premier League with numerous alleged breaches of financial rules.
They've been charged with more than 100 breaches of financial rules.
And when the richest teams attempted to break away entirely and form their own closed Super League, while others struggled to keep the lights on.
After 134 years in the Football League, it's all over.
Derby are expected to run out of money next month.
Bury Football Club, with its 134 years of history, is awaiting its fate.
It became clear that the battle for football's soul was underway.
This is, for me, a war on football.
It was an attempted murder of English football.
The very top of the sport is undoubtedly focused on protecting their brand, revenues, and position in world football. And you could safely say that the richest clubs in England have likely never cared less about everyone else than they do right now. But there remains one somewhat fair and equal competition, a thread of English football heritage that stands the test of time and now could be more important than ever. And that is the FA Cup, the oldest professional football competition in the world and a cup that's been played in England for more than 150 years. The FA Cup is an open competition that is nearly unfathomable in scale for an American sports fan. It includes teams from the very top of English football all the way down to the 9th tier of the sport. With more than 700 teams participating in this tournament each year, it's the perfect embodiment of what the sport once was. And there are countless iconic memories that this cup has created over the decades.
Thomas who takes it.
Oh, what a goal, Mickey Thomas!
Radford again. Oh, what a goal! What a goal! Radford the scorer. Sanchez was in there, and that's a goal for Wimbledon.
Oh, then as Gay Meadow holds his breath, throws it in, and Jepson has done it! Again! Shrewsbury are in dreamland!
But while the cup still remains an annual fixture, it too now finds itself at a crossroads. For centuries, football was played in England with no universally accepted rules, and no governing body to maintain any sense of order. But in 1863, that all changed. The Football Association, or the FA, was formed and quickly established a set of uniform rules. And as the sport continued to grow faster than any other in history, the FA was desperate to find a way to keep all of their associated clubs connected. And it was a suggestion from FA Secretary Charles Alcock in 1871 that would do just that. Inspired by the sudden death tournaments from his schoolboy days, Alcock suggested an all-encompassing knockout cup. Every club that was a part of the FA would compete until there was only one left, who would then be crowned champions of England. 15 teams took part in that first FA Cup, and today, more than 150 years later, the Cup's original vision still holds true. This year's iteration included 745 teams from all levels of football. But to understand just how a single tournament the size of 11 March Madness tournaments is even possible, and why it is so important, it's helpful to first understand some of the unique dynamics of football clubs in England and the professional system in which they reside. Most towns in England have their own football club, which of course means there are a lot of teams. Today there are just over 1,000 clubs that reside within the FA's English football pyramid. The pyramid is a tiered system of leagues that houses teams of descending levels of quality from the Premier League at the very top, all the way down to the 18 or so leagues that make up the 9th level. All of these leagues and levels are connected through a system of promotion and relegation, or upward and downward mobility. At the end of each season, the best few clubs in each league go up, while the worst few teams go down. A beautifully simple concept that creates equally astonishing and devastating results on an annual basis. If you need a really simple answer for what MLS and maybe even the NBA is missing, it's this. Every match matters. There is no tanking or reward for finishing last. At the top of the English football pyramid, you have the Premier League. Some will argue, but likely the best league in the world and certainly home to some of the sport's most well-known clubs and players.
It's Salah! Declan Rice to hit! Sweet as you like! Barkley. Duran! Oh, wonderful!
One step below that, you have the Championship, which is indeed the actual name for the league, followed by League One and League Two. Those four leagues at the top make up the EFL, or the English Football League. You would have heard of many of the teams at these levels, and the quality of play is quite high. In fact, the Championship is consistently ranked as a top 10 football league in the entire world. Every league below the EFL is considered the non-league. But don't let that confuse you. There are still loads of professional teams at these levels, especially in the 5th and 6th tier. The National League, for example, is where Ryan Reynolds' Wrexham resided when he bought the team and started filming his docuseries in 2020. Into the 6th and 7th tier and beyond, you would reasonably expect most teams to be made up of either amateurs or part-time professionals, meaning players in these leagues might also have day jobs. Obviously, the quality of competition, players, skill, the amount of money being thrown around varies dramatically from the top of the pyramid to the bottom. But despite that, the FA Cup is an annual tournament for all of them. A cup where in their wildest dreams, 9th tier clubs like Dudley Town or Biggleswade FC can find themselves in a fixture against Man City at the Etihad, or even where a father and son could find themselves on the opposite side of a fixture. Now, some of those matchups are long shots and will probably never play out on the field. But the very fact they are possible is what makes this format so intriguing. As I mentioned earlier, 745 teams entered this year's FA Cup. But it's not as simple as a massive knockout bracket seeded from 1 to 745. Rather than a standard progressive bracket, each round, every matchup is determined by a random drawing.
Good luck to everyone.
And while there are technically 14 rounds of play, clubs enter the tournament based on their standing within the English football system, meaning the boys at Biggleswade in the 9th tier would need to win a staggering 14 matches to lift the cup, while Premier League clubs like Chelsea or Liverpool would only need to win 6. But even if winning the whole thing is not a realistic goal, there are plenty of incentives for some of these smaller clubs to play for. The cup is split into two sections, qualifying rounds and the main competition or the competition proper. Teams from the non-league, or the lower half of the pyramid essentially, join in the qualifying rounds, with the teams from the very bottom of the pyramid joining here, and more teams joining each round based on their standing in the pyramid. By the end of the qualifying round, there are just 32 non-league teams remaining. And at this point, clubs from the top 4 leagues in English football will start entering the cup in stages, again, based on their standing within the pyramid. League 2 and League 1 teams enter here, while Championship and Premier League teams join here. You can basically look at it as one big system of buys awarded at varying scales based on your position within the English football pyramid. And it is this crossover between the EFL and non-league where we get some of the cup's biggest moments.
Oh, it's an own goal! Jimmy Traore's put through his own net in comic style!
And now Reynolds is into the Ipswich half, and he's played it into Sam Corn, and Sam Corn is into the area, and Sam Corn has scored! Oh, I don't believe it! Jesus H. Christ, he's done it again!
It's left. Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal! And Arsenal face humiliation.
But back to those incentives for a second. Each round, clubs are playing for set prize money from the FA that escalates with each round for both the winners and loser, a share of gate revenues between both clubs, regardless of where the match is played, and in certain circumstances, a share of television revenue. The prize money is obviously a set figure, but the gate and television revenues are completely dependent on your matchup, which means for clubs in need of cash, those random draws can mean as much as the match itself.
Liverpool, the 8-time winners, will face
51.
Accrington Stanley.
Oh my God! Oh my fucking God! Oh my fucking God! Oh my God!
And sure, drawing a big club might mean your cup run comes to an end, but that could very well also come with a big payday. If you do get to play a big club away, their larger stadium means that you're going to earn more from gate revenues. And it might also mean you have a better chance of getting televised, which would just mean more cash in your pocket. And over the decades, we've seen just how important these many different kinds of paydays can be for struggling clubs. In 2005, National League club Exeter City was on the brink of financial collapse. For a few years, the club's supporters trust had kept the club afloat on their own, taking over the club and raising money any way they could, from sponsored bike rides to free labor at the grounds on match days. But the debts had become too much, and the club, with over 100 years of history, was in need of a miracle. But despite all of the off-field chaos, the team had made a run to the third round proper in the cup. And drawing a matchup against a big club could give them the cash they needed, and that's exactly what they got.
Number 23, Manchester United FA Cup winners 11 times, including this year, will be at home. Tony Crew.
I can't do Hickley, can I? Hickley. Number 64.
Will be at home to Exeter City.
The match itself with Manchester United would generate significant cash for Exeter, but their situation was dire, and realistically, they needed a result on the pitch. A win would be ideal. That would mean more prize money and another matchup in the next round. But because of the long-standing FA Cup replay rule, a tie or a draw could also be enough. The replay rule meant that instead of going to extra time or penalties, draws will be played again, a whole new match, but this time at Exeter's grounds. Miraculously, the fifth-tier side Exeter played United to a 0-0 draw at Old Trafford, and earned that coveted second replay matchup at their own stadium. Now, Exeter would lose the replay, but hosting United at their ground was the financial shot in the arm that saved the club from certain extinction. Revenues earned from magical runs in the FA Cup can save struggling clubs, and over the years, we have seen many such cases play out.
Get back on terms. Misplaced pass, and Cardwell might be in here. Can he drive into space? He can, and he scores! In the local derby, it's finished. Wigan Athletic 2, Chorley 3. So close to penalties now. Can Marine win it right at the death? They might do. Oh, and they have! A dramatic goal for the captain, Niall Cummins.
O'Nahan for the second time in the game. 2-0 to Grimsby Town at Premier League Southampton, whose season is crumbling in front of our eyes.
And on it goes for Lamar Reynolds, who has a bit of space here. The first touch is good. Oh, the finish is brilliant. Maidstone United in front at Championship Ipswich.
See, a run in the Cup for a vast majority of these clubs can be a massive success, even if they aren't lifting the trophy at the end. The Cup provides chances to earn and reasons to believe unlike any other competition for a majority of the entrants. And that is squarely thanks to the participation of the top leagues and teams who bring the eyeballs and drip down the revenues to make it possible. But unfortunately, decisions in recent years by the FA and attitudes from some of those top clubs point to a future where the significance of the FA Cup is not quite so clear. It has become an afterthought on an ever-expanding schedule that prioritizes European Cups and World Tours. Cup revenues might be club-changing for the little guys, but they are a mere drop in the bucket for the elite clubs who sell partnership deals the size of a small country's GDP. You could feel this change in the air for some time now, but the FA put their cards on the table last year when they announced the removal of replays from the competition proper. It was a slap in the face to the non-league. to the backbone of this sport. The very element that had saved so many clubs and created memories for generations was removed overnight in the name of protecting the congested schedules of top clubs. Essentially, a few clubs a year were inconvenienced by an extra match or two, often only played because they couldn't defeat the smaller club on their first attempt anyway. And it's a real disgrace, one that dishonors the spirit of what this competition is supposed to stand for, and completely ignores the growing disparity between the uber-wealthy elite clubs and a good portion of the rest of English football. Removing FA Cup replays has a knock-on effect that we can't even measure yet. It is simply one less lifeboat on the many sinking ships in English football. And in year one of this rule change, we saw it play out dramatically. After ripping off wins against clubs 2 leagues above them in both the first and second rounds of the main competition, 5th-tier club Tamworth drew Premier League giants.
Tamworth. Dion Dublin. Give them a nice draw.
Number 40 is going to the Lamb Ground.
It is Tottenham Hotspur.
And they played inspired, with no winner after 90 minutes at the Lamb Ground at Tamworth.
And Kinski saves it. Tamworth nearly win it again. And that's the full-time whistle, and another 30 minutes are on the way at the Lamb Ground.
Just last year, that would mean a replay would be scheduled at Tottenham's grounds in London. A fixture that could have brought an additional £1 million of revenue for Tamworth. More than significant for a club with annual revenues of just $1.5 million. But instead, under the new rules, the game carried on into extra time.
Slipped it in to Johnson, Solanke, and it's in. Kulusevski in space. Gaps now appearing, and the second goal's here for Dejan Kulusevski. There's the cutback, and it's turned in by Brennan Johnson. And there's the full-time whistle.
A replay would have done far more than just give Tamworth a chance to freshen their legs. Win or lose, it could have changed their whole trajectory. Now, this change is part of a multi-year deal that will supposedly be reviewed in a few years' time. But given the history and the trends that we've laid out here, you would not bet on them reversing this. And that isn't to say the magic is gone either, or that the Cup can no longer save clubs in financial ruin. Chorley still made some significant cash in their run, and Maidstone's run in 2023 didn't involve any replays. But it's certainly a move in the wrong direction and an ominous sign of what could be to come. Modern football will always chase more money, more exclusivity, and more control. And it's hard to imagine their focus shifting back to country cups like the FA Cup. But as long as the FA Cup does exist, we can only hope that it will continue to give us the moments of magic that are the reason that most of us fell in love with this game in the first place.
Ian Woan then as Gay Meadow holds his breath, Woan sends it in, and Jepson has done it! Again! Shrewsbury are in dreamland!